This is the village. Can you come up?
Merci. Maybe you shake your head. Ça c'est ok. Ça c'est bien aussi. Oh,
Good.
Merci. Bahrain was the forerunner of this. Because there were 600 they can welcome investors.
Oh, I have the case.
Here, all of New York real estate is controlled.
Actually, the question you wanted to
Thanks.
Anybody speaks English? Bahrain is a small island. Traditionally, it is very famous in pearl diving. And still, we have the best pearl in the world, still natural. So of course, becoming this. And we are proud to give her this small gift for a lovely lady.
It's beautiful. Eu também tenho cá uma lembrança. For you. Is it made of Angola?
Okay. Thank you very much. This is for, I wanted to give it to you, but this is for your minister.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and we're very happy to pass it on to you and pass it to them. Thank you. This is, of course, that my country is very famous. I know. Yes, and we're very proud that this is still existing in our country. Thank you very much. Thank you. عندك كفاءة لهم.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I would like the panelists to please come join me here in the panel. How we're going to proceed now is to have a panel session divided into 3 segments. The first segment is vision and key achievements, and the panelists who I'm about to introduce to you, I'm going to ask them a question and ask them to answer that question in 3 minutes. And that's an unusual thing at the United Nations, but if we do it that way, everybody will get a chance to speak, and most importantly, we will have time at the end to involve those of you in the audience. Access to adequate and affordable housing is recognized in many international instruments, including the SDGs and the new urban agenda adopted by member states in Quito in 2015. Issues related to affordability, growing population, migration, and climate change all concern housing somehow and add to everyday challenges of every decision maker. We also know that we learn from each other's challenges, sometimes even more from each other's achievements. The panel that has joined me here, starting on the right and moving this way, the first person is Ana Paula Chantal Luna de Carvalho, who is the Minister of Territorial Planning and Housing of Angola. And by the way, there are translation microphones on your seats. Number 1 is English and number 2 is Portuguese. The second person I will be calling upon is Habufano Lahana, who is the Minister of Local Government, Chieftainship and Parliamentary Affairs of Lesotho. The third person we have met already, and we welcome him back, is Minister Al-Hamar of Bahrain. And finally, Nicolae Nankov, who is the Minister of Regional Development and Public Works of Bulgaria, represented here on the panel by Krasimira Beshkova of the Permanent Mission of Bulgaria. So the four of you, starting with Ana Paula Chantal Luna de Carvalho, would you answer this question, please, which is, what would you say are the main achievements of your country in terms of improving access to adequate housing? And again, if you could answer in 3 minutes, that would be great, please.
Muito obrigada. As principais dificuldades no meu país para o acesso à habitação ainda não temos um número, uma oferta que vá de encontro com a necessidade, porque já foram realizados alguns programas habitacionais, que é o Programa Nacional de Urbanismo e Habitação, que foi lançado em 2008. Já fizemos mais de 350 mil habitações, mas que acabou abrangindo maioritariamente aquilo que é a camada de nível médio. Então, o nosso principal problema neste momento é atingir aquela camada mais baixa, que tem um menor poderio financeiro. Isto porque Angola, como sabem, viveu um longo período de guerra. Então, a habitação que nós tínhamos era colonial. Houve algumas construções, mas de forma muito tímida. Depois de lançado esse programa, conseguimos dar uma grande resposta em termos de habitação. Só para dizer que nós temos 164 municípios. Desses 164 municípios, 130 também beneficiaram de um programa de 200 fogos habitacionais. Deles, para além de outros programas maiores nas capitais. Mas como nem a camada baixa, nem a camada média tinha habitação, então atendeu maioritariamente a camada média. A nossa principal preocupação neste momento é atendermos a camada mais baixa, porque essa sim, e dizer que também do filme que vi do Bahrein, vou levar a experiência também de atendermos também as mulheres em particular, porque nós temos atendido a franja geral, temos atendido a jovens, principalmente, porque a população angolana é maioritariamente jovem. Temos atendido também mulheres, não em particular como este caso, e gostei desta experiência. Temos atendido antigos combatentes, mas é generalizado. Então queremos também realizar um programa voltado para mulheres. Meus parabéns. Muito obrigada.
Obrigado, thank you. Actually, what I'll probably tell you to do is not to applaud now, because we have lots of speakers who will applaud at the very end. The second speaker, that same question, is Habufano Lahana, the Minister of Local Government, Chieftainship and Parliamentary Affairs of Lesotho. Once again, the question, Minister, is what would you say are the main achievements of your country in terms of improving access to adequate housing?
Well, thank you, moderator. Let me thank the government of Bahrain, IPI, and the co-hosts for this session. And because we said 3 minutes, I think I should go straight to answering the question. The main challenge in my country as far as housing and human settlement is concerned is planning. Lack of planning is the main problem, whereby even though we have quite a sizable number of houses which are good quality, but because of lack of planning, then they turn into slums because they are located in areas where there is no infrastructure, where it's very expensive to provide infrastructure. It's signified by a huge urban sprawl, and thereby making human settlements not very adequate. The government, in collaboration, of course, here we should thank the UN-Habitat. We have a housing policy now which addresses specifically the housing policy issues, whereby we are addressing affordability as a main target. Affordability is addressed in a number of ways. One of the one is to make available service plots, land and service plots, whereby they have the basic services, and then people can build their own houses. As in Lesotho, the informal sector or informal delivery of housing is very, very, very strong. We believe in my country that every man and every woman has an obligation to provide housing for himself or for herself or the family, and we want to drive that philosophy. But then we realize with the advent of rapid urbanization and so forth, where the population increases, then we have to introduce either issue of standards, then you have to build houses that conform to the standards, and that takes a lot of people out of their affordability pocket. So affordability then becomes a problem. The government is continually putting on an annual basis a budget that goes towards affordability, building affordable housing. The method that we use the private sector, but we use it in a manner that it delivers houses that are affordable. The silent service schemes is cross-subsidization, whereby you load the middle and high income a little bit more with the cost of services, so that we can have the low income access plots which are much cheaper. So this has been basically the two folds that we've been addressing this. We are also bringing in the private land developers to also take care of mostly the middle and high income, while the low income is being catered for by the government parastate organization, the Industrial Housing and Development Corporation, which of course offers and provides housing at very, very, very reasonable prices that people should access. I think that is basically what we are doing as far as it comes to affordability. We also do have Habitat for Humanity, which is also involved in providing for the poorest of the poor. There are those people who you cannot even talk about affordability because they have absolutely nothing, or they have very little that they can afford any housing. So there are some self-help schemes whereby the houses are almost close to 100% affordable, and people themselves have to provide self-equity that they participate in the construction of the houses, but they don't buy the materials, they don't buy anything. It is usually close to 100% grant. Government is intending, of course, to also contribute on an annual basis to top up the amount of money and assistance that we are getting from Habitat for Humanity. So in this way, we'll be able to leave no one behind as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We'll pass on the applause in order to keep the things moving. It doesn't mean any lack of appreciation. And finally, the next speaker, the same question, is our friend, Minister Alhammer. What would you say are the main achievements of your country in terms of improving access to adequate housing?
Please allow me, because you did not give me enough time to say thank you for my fellow ministers, different representatives from the UN, IPI for being so kind, hosting this event here. So thank you all, and thank you for the audience. When we talk about achievements, and we have to admit that no matter how much we achieve in the housing sector, we are faced with as much challenges as we move on. So achievement are faced with a strong challenges. So it is an ongoing exercise so that we can make sure that we succeed at the end. I explained before that we realized that at the very early stage through a vision for the leadership that housing is very important. It is an important component to the quality of life of its citizens. That's why the government of Bahrain has started strongly in this journey. As we moved on, we were faced with bigger challenges, or with challenges. I think one of the also major achievements is that we have seek the help of the UN-Habitat and UNDP to support us drafting our housing policy and housing strategies. But I can comfortably say that through over 4 decades of providing social housing for the citizens, we have achieved a lot. We have built thousands and thousands of housing units. We just started new initiatives through different programs, as we mentioned earlier, to allow access to the citizens, immediate access to the citizens through access to finance, access to houses with government support and with a government subsidy. And I would strongly say that we also, one of the major achievements in Bahrain is that we have engaged the private sector in a larger scale. And we are preparing ourselves for the private sector to play the bigger and the broader role in Bahrain. And so that the government is preparing itself for the second step, where we do operate as a policymaker and a regulator in this field.
Thank you, Minister. And we'll move on to Krasmira Beshkova from the Permanent Mission of Bulgaria. Once again, what would you say are the main achievements of your country in terms of improving access to adequate housing?
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. Since I'm representing the Minister of Bulgaria on Regional Development, allow me first, before attaining to your question, to serve very quickly the protocol and to thank you on behalf of the Bulgarian Minister on Regional Development and Public Works, Mr. Nikolai Namkov, for your kind invitation today for bringing forward our common project on adequate, safe and affordable housing. Please accept the sincere apologies of my minister for not being able to be present here today in person. And I would like immediately to express his sincere personal appreciation for your commitment, Minister Al-Hamar, to our common project. And I would like also very much to immediately acknowledge the support Bulgaria is receiving from the UN-Habitat and from the UNDP for bringing forward this project, which we attach particularly high importance. And I will conclude my protocol remarks, once again indulgence for them, but I'm again represented the minister, and it is quite a demanding task, of course. I would like to express our keen support for further development of the collaboration we are having with the countries involved in this project, namely Bahrain, Angola, Malaysia, and Paraguay. Thank you very much for the IPI for housing us today. It only shows the complex and consistent commitment of the Institute towards the sustainable development. And now to your very clear question. In Bulgaria, in the last decade, we believe we have managed to bring the interlinkage between the three key policies as regards housing to a new dimension. These policies, in our assessment, are the sustainable urban and territorial development, housing, and land management. And we have worked on the interlinkages between these three policies with the view of achieving economic growth both at national and at local level. And this enhancing of the synergy between these three key policies we did by devoting our special attention to the assessment of the housing needs of the population. And we employed the following instruments: impact analysis, surveys, and implementation tools. So for us, our first achievement in answer to your question is the better understanding we have achieved during the last decade in Bulgaria on the housing needs of the population. And this allowed us to develop an evidence-based housing policy. And as usual, when a government's policy is evidence-based, it logically becomes financially sustainable. So our first achievement is the better knowledge and the better understanding and identification of the housing needs. As a second achievement, I would set out the involvement of the Bulgarian government in various cooperation formats, among them the one we are actually trying to enhance further today. And I will mention here, among the various cooperation formats in which my government has been involved, the new urban agenda and the 2016 Pact of Amsterdam, setting the urban agenda for the EU. Our third goal for addressing the housing needs of the population was actually to agree both at the expert and at political level on a key policy priority. And in our view, we have reached consensus in our society that the key policy priority for us is buildings energy efficiency. And once we reach agreement on this priority, we employed a wide range of legislative measures and of policies, governmental policies and programs. And I will mention among them the Energy Efficiency Act, adopted back in 2004. It was further enhanced in 2015 with the new Energy Efficiency Act, which introduced the current European requirements for energy efficiency in the buildings. And I'm actually concluding the answer to your question, Mr. Moderator, by mentioning the National Housing Strategy, which we adopted in 2004, and which main goal is to cease the process of deterioration of the existing house stocks. Bulgaria shared two small-scale pilots initiatives in 2007 and 2012, and today we are already having a large-scale national program for energy efficiency, which is worth of €1 billion. So in concluding, we assessed better the needs, we involved in cooperation formats, and we reached consensus on a key policy priority.
Thank you, Ms. Peskova. I'm going to race ahead now and condense two questions into one. We'll have the same exercise answering this particular question. How is your government coping with the affordability crisis, and what measures have you put in place to reduce housing costs? And what is the vision and key objectives of how your country will achieve SDG 11.1? And I point out in particular that 11.1 calls for adequate and affordable housing. So, Ms. Luna Carvalho, could you answer that question, please?
Mais uma vez, obrigada. As medidas adotadas pelo nosso governo para reduzir o custo da habitação, praticamente a habitação, quando é passada, é arrendada, porque nós temos três modalidades neste momento. Tem uma modalidade que é pronto pagamento, outra que é a renda resoluta, que é dividido o valor da casa por 30 anos. Ao fim dos 30 anos, essa casa é do proprietário, e temos também o sistema de arrendamento, que esta casa nunca é do cidadão, é do Instituto Nacional de Habitação. Mas dizer que as medidas adotadas para reduzir os custos, esse valor, quer seja para o pronto pagamento, renda resoluta, só é imputado o valor da habitação. O valor gasto com a infraestrutura, ou seja, com os acessos à energia, água, esgotos, não entra no custo total da casa. No caso do outro subprograma que eu estive a referir, que está nos 130 dos 164 municípios, ainda reduziu-se mais. Achou-se um preço inferior ao custo da casa, também não foi anexado o custo da instalação da água, energia e outros serviços. Pese embora essas casas não tenham todas elas já a infraestrutura, ou seja, a infraestrutura tem sido feita de forma paulatina. Foram feitas as casas, muitas delas já têm lançadas as redes de água, as fontes de abastecimento de água, a rede elétrica, a fonte de abastecimento, mas na maior parte não tem a rede de esgotos. Temos estado a usar numa primeira fase uma fossa séptica e um poço roto, para a posterior então lançarmos a rede de esgotos, os passeios, o asfalto. Foram feitas apenas a abertura de vias. Mas o custo total da casa não é o custo que é vendido ao cidadão. É um custo inferior ao custo da casa, sem anexarmos os custos das infraestruturas. Muito obrigada.
Obrigado. Minister Lahan, the same question, particularly affordability.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You said particularly affordable, but also as the vision. That touching on two. Thank you. The vision is that every Muslim should have access to affordable housing in well-planned settlements. And the goal here is the realization of the right to build housing through promoting housing as a basic right and social good, economic investment, job creation and strategy for poverty reduction. I'll just run through just the 10 objectives of the housing policy so that we get some of the things that I'm going to talk about. provide housing directly or indirectly, improve land use planning and management, improve infrastructure provision, improve access to housing finance, acknowledge and support the private sector, acknowledge and support private sector participation, improve institutional and regulatory framework based on housing, improve production and use of locally available material, increase priority for housing in national development, eliminate inequality issues in housing. This set of objectives are directly linked to achieving the housing for all and the SDG 11 in general. We know that housing is cross-cutting, also because it has a multiplier effect on other sectors such as infrastructure, water, sanitation, energy, and more. So this policy tries to find the synergies between SDG and national strategies and housing policy. When it comes to affordability, we have facilitated what we call a housing supply and chain, whereby we have brought in the microfinance institutions to try and finance the people with less income. Just know that the commercial banks are risk averse. They have the reluctance to actually participate in assisting people who have maybe dicey forms of incomes. But the microfinance is for the much more relaxed approach. Also, we have introduced what we call rent to housing scheme, whereby you can rent, instead first by renting, part of the money goes into a reserve account, that after say 5 years, then you can exercise your right to purchase that house, and by that time, you have acquired enough deposit to put upfront and then get a loan from the bank. That is one of the scheme. We only want to expand it more so that we can make the people who don't afford and cannot, who are not what we call bankable, access finance from banks. The infrastructure, government, in housing schemes, only basic infrastructure is provided so that we don't load the house buyers with a lot of money that we have to pay for putting in tap, putting in sewer, putting in whatnot. So people really pay for the basic services and are provided incrementally, similar to what the minister from Angola said. And the one that we have applied afterwards, people don't really pay for it, and it's got from other taxes. So the bulk infrastructure and a lot of infrastructure is not shouldn't become a barrier for affordability. Government also is promoting adoption of affordable building technologies. We are soon going to be having a company establish a factory in Lesotho, which will be manufacturing what we call concrete panels. And that has cut the cost of housing by almost 30% or 40%. So these methods also are geared towards making houses affordable, and they're embarking on making bigger schemes. So when the scheme is bigger, then the cost is spread around many houses, that will make it less expensive. I think with those few remarks, I have probably attempted to answer your question, but the 3 minutes is scary. You think we've gone beyond, and that is it.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister Alfama. Question again, 3 minutes, and we do 3 minutes, we're going to get to the audience shortly. Again, it's SDG 11.1, affordability. If you could just speak on that for 3 minutes.
Housing itself is a very tough business, and although it sounds like we're only providing houses, but in reality it is complex, highly technical, and could always have a cost overrun. If we take this as a basic principle in the line of business that we are in, and with a huge demand on housing and housing units, this by itself will make it in a way or another not affordable. That's why most of countries look into other bases and other solutions. We have also went through the same challenge, and that's why we have engaged the private sector. It was a challenge for us, but it was an opportunity for the private sector to take over. And we noticed that the private sector also was dictating some pricing terms, and we noticed that this, if it goes on, again, it will make the private sector another giant monster and will not be affordable anymore. This is where the countries and the regulator and the policymaker job is to come in and regulate the sector properly, perhaps through some other means, become a facilitator, and try to also support the private sector from the infrastructure, the cost of the land, and so forth, so that again you try to manage it better, to make it least expensive and more affordable, so that this program, housing program, can continue and goes on and on and on.
Thank you very much. Ms. Peskova, finally, 3 minutes, if you will, on the subject of affordability and SDG 11.1.
Thank you very much. And of course, I will concentrate, as you suggested, on the affordability, but I would like very quickly to mention also the vision and the key objectives. In my previous intervention, I mentioned the national strategy on housing we have developed in 2004, and currently we are engaged in drafting a version of a new national housing strategy for the period 2018-2030. And the new strategy envisages solving the most serious problems in the national aspect, namely poor housing maintenance, low energy efficiency, and overcoming the large deficit of social housing. And this, of course, we are trying to achieve by addressing the insufficient administrative and financial capacity to formulate and implement housing policy. And it is envisaged, as the last word on the vision, that we establish a framework of a national housing system that regulates the relations between the different stakeholders, states, municipalities, and citizens. And this will actually justify the creation of a fund which will finance the long-term measures for energy efficiency improvement and the renovation of the housing in Bulgaria. As regards affordability, I would like to mention first that the National Housing Program targets renovation of large residential buildings typically constructed between 1970s and 1990s, and they amount to 70% of all participating buildings. They are mainly panel blocks. The program is implemented at the municipalities level, and all 265 municipalities in Bulgaria are involved. The main focus of the program is the improvement of the building envelope, wall, roof, slab insulation, windows, and door replacement. And actually the expected impact of the program on household is the following: reduce space heating costs, in some cases also the cost for hot water with 45 to 55%, and increase energy efficiency savings with 40 to 60%. And since we are addressing the topic of affordability, I can't conclude without mentioning the attention the government is devoted in the current and the revised strategy on improving the living conditions of the vulnerable groups, and among them senior citizens, long-term unemployed, temporary workers, disadvantaged or disabled, young, large families, and they amount to 1.1 million, or about 40% of the Bulgarian population. So I believe these examples give you a general impression of how comprehensive and equal the housing program in Bulgaria is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go down to the room for comments. I've been asked to acknowledge the presence of 3 people in the room, and that is Mr. Aziz of Malaysia, Ms. Vera Songway of the Economic Commission of Africa, and Mr. Ricardo Jordan of the Economic Commission of Latin America and the Caribbean. Please, one other.
Please allow me also to acknowledge Mr. Mohammed Al-Mutawa, the Minister of Cabinet Affairs from the Kingdom of Bahrain, and congratulate him for such a wonderful job that he did yesterday when the Kingdom of Bahrain submitted the VNR, and he did an excellent and exceptional job, and he's also with us. And I'd like to thank you for attending this meeting with us today.
Good, thank you. Now, if you have a question or comment, raise your hand, and I will probably call on 3. We'll start 1, 2, and then 3 here on the second row. And please make the questions. We have 15 minutes. Make them very short. And panelists, if you would listen to the questions, you don't have to answer all of them, but if you hear something you want to respond to.
First of all, thank you for inviting myself and my partner, Scott Amix, to this forum. Housing is a big issue.
Hold the microphone a little bit closer.
The particular interest from my point of view, my name is William Dahl, I represent a private investor group, is what can the private sector bring to this? I was very interested in Minister Al-Hamr's presentation. I commend the Kingdom of Bahrain on your sustainable development goals. There are initiatives right now taking place that are investable and investors are getting behind privately. I was in Dubai and I saw a net zero community which is completely sustainable, 100%. The solar power, 2,700 residents. And it is producing, just on the real estate, an attractive return to investors. This is how we can bring private sector money into the initiative and probably knock down several SDGs at the same time. So I'd be happy to speak with you after you have questions, but thank you very much for the invitation.
Sure. The second person I called on is it?
Can I go? No, I didn't ask for it.
Yes, my name is Scott Amix, and I'm with William here in regards to sustainable cities. My question to your Excellency, Minister Al-Hamr, is in regards to the private sector. To me, it's not so much about technology and the lower cost structure of building or the land acquisition or the construction. I think it has to do with the sustainability, has to do with the economic model and the alliance or the alignment between the public authority, the housing authority, the private investors, and then the individuals that are the actual residents. So what have you seen in terms of ownership models that allows for a certain different mindset of the residents that aligns? And really, the housing should not be concerned as an entitlement or subsidy, but should be an asset that has accumulation value.
And then the third person I identified, I think it was not.
Thank you very much. My name is Ricardo Jordan. I'm from the UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. Congratulations all the panelists for the fantastic presentations. And so I'm very sorry that our friends, colleagues from Latin America couldn't make it, people from Paraguay, the Ministry of Paraguay and the representative here in New York. So maybe I'm the only one in Latin America here in the room. So let me give you a little bit background of what's going on in terms of housing in Latin America, and then I will ask a question. Very quickly. Just came back from the Dominican Republic. They just launched Habitat for Humanity with Cities Alliance and the governments of Latin America and the Caribbean. In the Forum of Ministries of Housing, they launched a hub, a platform for housing, put housing at the center of the new urban agenda. Two things from that hub. First, housing as a right, not as a commodity. That's the point of entry. And the second thing is now build a process of how do you align housing with the new urban agenda through the Urban Regional Action Plan developed in Latin America by UN-Habitat and UNDP. That plan has 6 main issues: urban national policies, urban legal frameworks, planning and design, finance, and local implementation. So the idea now in Latin America is how do housing connects with national urban policies, with urban legal frameworks, and how can they dialogue policies on housing with these 5 issues. And the question then, it's in Latin America there's very much extended this scheme of subsidies to demand, not supply. So I would like to ask the panelists, any one of them, if there's some kind of similar scheme in their home countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In the interest of time, Minister Alhambra, if you would answer the 2 questions, both of them were sort of directed at you about private enterprise, and then I would ask the panel if anybody, one of you, would like to answer Ricardo Jordan's question just now. Okay, fine. So if you would first of all, and then we'll try to get 3 more questions. Well, by the way, questions from women, I will accept no more questions from men.
Thank you for recognizing the private sector contribution and becoming a major player in the housing issue. As you have seen from our film, that this is what we do currently, but it's really becoming a liability. I'm sure you understand that we cannot continue the way we do business with this type of housing. So based on that, we are reshaping our policy, where we are heavily relying, or will rely heavily on the private sector. There is so much is going on the ground to change the legislations and to modify some of the rules and the procedures to allow the private sector to take a place. We need for the next stage to play also a good policy maker and implementer in this sector. Currently, the way we do housing is expensive, and we need to reintroduce new models, least expensive, faster to do, and become more affordable. I totally agree with you that it comes to the end to our business model, and that's also an important factor over here. But as far as Bahrain is concerned, we are really serious of working more and more in the private sector, and that's by itself is a window of opportunity to engage the private sector to come and invest in this sector in Bahrain.
Minister Lejana, if you could answer the question of Ricardo Jordan.
Thank you very much. The UN organizations usually would respond to the request of the country. My country was to assist with the development of the housing policy. But as we went ahead with doing that, we have discovered together with the UN-Habitat that we have to link the housing policy to the bigger picture as a national urban policy. So we're already talking now about moving forward now to develop a much more bigger picture as the national housing policy, also to be about the national country's master plan. That's why they put the issue of designs, the issues of how we want to do things come in. So although we started somewhere in the middle, but I think now we are way back to a bigger picture. So then we can nicely relate housing also fit in all the SDGs and within the arena of the human settlements in general.
We'll do 3 more questions now, and I will accept questions only from women. In the back is 1. From Annie is 2. You don't count? There, number 3. So the first, what did I say, number 1? Actually, let me do number 1 with Annie Rubin, because she is IPI social media, and we'll have a question from somebody who has been watching this.
We have a question from an online Facebook viewer named Noana Amara, who is an English teacher at the Ministry of Education in Bahrain. She asks how policies related to housing and sustainability promote peace. Thanks.
Okay, the second woman I pointed to, well, in the back, yes, what?
My name is Teresa Portura, and I represent a group here at the UN for working to end homelessness. The new urban agenda calls for improving the living conditions of the homeless people. I would like to know what steps are we taking to measure homelessness, especially street homelessness?
Thank you. Minister Lourdes Carvalho, did you understand that enough to answer that question? No?
Muito obrigada. Eu não iria responder as perguntas da senhora, mas do senhor que ficou por responder. Aborda a questão do quadro jurídico. Nós, na Constituição da República de Angola, o senhor falava da América Latina, a habitação é um direito fundamental. Foi em 2009 gizado um programa nacional do urbanismo e habitação para entrega de lotes, ou seja, de terrenos, para aquelas populações que não têm possibilidade de pagar as casas, mas também pensando nos mais desfavorecidos, também existe o sistema de arrendamento nas casas já construídas, para aquelas que já têm um maior poder financeiro, então fazem pagamento em renda resolúvel, que é o que eu me referi, que é pago em 30 anos. Mas também está quase que concluída a Política Nacional do Ordenamento do Território, porque nós estamos aqui a falar de habitação, mas é preciso primeiro ordenar. É preciso que exista primeiro um plano. Plano diretor municipal, plano urbano, plano de pormenor, ou mesmo até plano de loteamento. E depois sim é que se fazem as casas. Dizer que todos esses programas que nós fizemos foram alvos de planos. Muitos deles de loteamento e outros de urbanismo. Nós agora começamos também a aprovar aquilo que são os planos diretores municipais, mas para cada uma dessas urbanizações existe sim um plano. Muito obrigada.
Thank you. Mr. The question from Bahrain, the Education Department. Could you respond to that?
I'm sorry, I missed to acknowledge the Minister from Morocco for being here today. Thank you very much for coming. I would like to repeat her question. How policies related to housing and sustainability promote peace? I think housing play a major role in social justice and making the communities prosper and live in a good, healthy condition and look for the future. This is basically how we look at housing and housing sector in Bahrain, that it really plays a major role in providing or achieving social justice for people and provide them with the quality of housing so that they are become they are not left behind, and they become a good citizen and a productive citizen.
That's about all we have time for. I have one takeaway that I actually thought before I came in today, which is that the knowledge exchange between countries and the United Nations is crucial to achieve SDG 11.1. That knowledge exchange is exactly what we intended this event to be. Thanks to Habitat and to our friends from Bahrain, we've had a chance to do that. I thank you all for your good questions and for your attention, and in particular, please join me in thanking this excellent panel.